I'm always learning new things. Every time I write a new book, I'm trying to iterate. I'm trying to get better. One of the things we talk about is, are you trying to write a better book, or are you trying to write a book better, right? So there's different parts of this process. And so what I'm trying to do as I write is I'm trying to get better as a writer as I continue releasing books. It's not necessarily that each book needs to be the best book I've ever written. It's more that I want to be a better writer each book than I was the previous book. And that doesn't always result in a immediately superior product. But the idea is that I slowly get better over time, right? And therefore the books will as well.
This is the LitRPG podcast, your one-stop shop for everything LitRPG, progression fantasy, and Royal Road. Hi everyone, and welcome to the LitRPG podcast, the only podcast where we have the will to write. With me today is Wight, and he wrote a couple of books, and you know me, I always like to support small indie authors. Hi, Will.
Hi there. You know, in school, one of the things kids would do with my name is they would chant Will Wight the whatever guy to the tune of Bill Nye the Science Guy. And so in school it was the spelling guy, and then now it's the writing guy. It's Will Wight the writing guy, because my friends still do it. So that is a thing that I've grown up with. It's been fun, honestly.
Well, this is the 100th episode, and I promised you guys I would bring you someone special. So I think without any further ado, why don't you sell me on one of your books?
Sell you on one of my books? Okay, I'll do my best. All right. So my whole life, I've been a real fan of a lot of sci-fi series. I've been a big fan of the Power Rangers. I've been a big fan of Metroid. I've been a big fan of the Doom franchise. So I'm a fan of a lot of things that are sci-fi. But I also have been a big fan of wizards. So I've always wanted to see more wizards in space. And with that desire in mind, I set out a few years ago to write The Last Horizon, which is a space fantasy series that follows a wizard in a spaceship running around collecting a bunch of the coolest, biggest heroes in the galaxy to defend it from a bunch of insane threats. And it really is a kitchen sink series. I threw everything in there that I wanted to do, and it's just fun. I've just had fun writing it. People have fun reading it. And if that sounds cool to you, pick it up. If it doesn't, don't.
I mean, you've written, obviously, you've also written Cradle. Then you've written a story about a guy who grew up with basically a silver spoon.
Sure.
Who is kind of like a man on the moon. When are you going to write a story about cats?
That's next. I'm writing a story about a guy who gets trapped in what you might call a dungeon, and he brings his cat in, and the cat gains the ability to talk. I think it's very original. I think it's really going to take people by storm. It's a LitRPG. I'm calling it Dungeon Jumper John. And I feel that I think this cat story is really going to catch people off guard. It's going to be something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, as an aside, are you okay with swearing?
I'm okay with you swearing. I'm not going to swear.
And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like, because I had this idea for this story that's like remarkably like your idea, actually.
All right. Okay. This is great.
Where it's this story about a guy who gets left by his girlfriend.
Okay.
And then he like goes into a dungeon chasing pussy, but he ends up as the foot slave of the dungeon master instead.
Well, all right.
So
yeah. See,
that could be like.
I think these ideas could mesh somehow. I think there's probably some synergy there. There's a little bit,
absolutely,
a little overlap.
Yeah. We got something going. We should do a collab. Like.
I think so. Yeah. This is good. We'll come up with a pseudonym.
Okay.
Dat Miniman.
No, but I really thought for a second that you were really like writing a story about a cat. Because that would be hilarious. Because
it would be though. It would be. It was not real, but a story about a cat. See, all right. So I used to teach an intro to writing class at UCF, and when I did, the first thing I would tell my students is, don't write short stories about cats. And the reason I would say that is because if you left them to their own devices, they would write a story about a cat. So like you would always, in a class of 50 people, you would always have like 4 or 5 people that if you did not tell them that would write a story from the perspective of a cat or following a cat because that's like the first idea you kind of have when you're starting out is like, what would be an unusual point of view? And you pick a cat. And so I have always been like, that's been one of my that's nope, crossed out. No cats. Not doing a cat story.
Because like I thought you were really going for that, like to complete the whole song, like the cat and the cradle and the silver spoon, and then.
Wow, you really led me up to that one. I jumped into that one with both feet. Now I might have to do it. And then I'll write one about a cow jumping over the moon.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, I mean, you don't know whether, you don't know when, but we are going to have a good time then.
I like that I'm being led into this. I mean, this is all a series of verbal traps. I'm going to watch everything you say now, like a hawk.
It can't get any worse. So like at this point, I want to really like shout out like also like to Haylock, who introduced us by being present.
He did.
I think, yeah. It was at DragonCon. You were eating with your amazing family, and you kind of saw Haylock and were like, "Yo, Haylock," and then I didn't know who you were, so I was like, "Will who?" And you were like, "Will Wight." I'm like, "Oh shit, great, yeah, hi." And this led to this. So yeah, thanks for coming on again.
Absolutely glad to be here. Yeah, and I was eating lunch with my amazing family because my regular family was busy. And they're listening to this. They're off screen in the other room, so they can hear me. And you walked up with Haylock, and we got to talking, and you said something about The Last Horizon, which people normally comment on Cradle. So that was what stuck in my brain.
Okay, so like when we talked, I also said like you're completely okay with people fanboying or gushing about your story.
I am.
So
yes.
This is what I will do for the next minute. And if you don't like it, dear listeners, I'm very sorry, but it has to be done because like people often say like, "Hey, Cradle is great, and it gets really, really amazing at book 3 or 4, right?" Like there's not a lot of dig. Like obviously the first book is way beyond what most people can write. But I personally felt as though like The Last Horizon, you just hit the ground running right after like the last Cradle book, and just kept going because whereas in Cradle, like it took a little bit of time to like get warm with the characters. Like the characters in Last Horizon are just so there, like from the get go. Like you immediately know these people, right? So I just think it's spectacular, and we've already both talked about our eternal love for Queen Shyrex III. So it's like, to me, that's like the best character. And I kind of want to ask you about that, like characterization.
Okay. Yeah.
Not just kind of how do you find these people, but also how do you get into the mindset of writing these people?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. One of the things was when I started off writing this series, one of the first things I did was I went, okay, let me try to cover some major archetypes that I wanted to include in this main crew and in the series. And there was always kind of the second in command, or there's always this hyper competent sci-fi character, right? And a lot of times they're royalty, and a lot of times they're the second in command on the ship. But there's always somebody who's really, really good at basically everything, right? Their competence is one of their defining features. And so I was trying to design this person, and I was going, okay, what kind of vibes should she give off? And so I was trying to get her into book 1, but I wasn't sure how to do that. And I ended up going, okay, so you know what? She's not going to join until book 2. So therefore, her introduction has got to be really, really strong. And I thought, okay, if her defining feature is competence, and I want to like show her intro scene in book 1, but she's not going to join the crew until book 2. Her intro scene has got to be very memorable. So I went, okay, I have an idea, but it might be too much. It might be too humorous. It might be too out of tone. It might be too. I wasn't sure it was, but I wrote it just to see how I felt about it, and I really, really liked it. And it ended up being her tryout scene in book 1, which is her going into a series of duels and ending up being able to beat these people very easily using their specialty. And she gets bored with that, so she starts challenging them in their non-combat specialties. So she starts playing cards with people and brewing tea and stuff, and she's just doing it extremely seriously and extremely well, right? So it was very fun. I really enjoyed it. I got to do that really well, and that helped me find the voice of the character really well, because she herself is really serious, but what she's doing is so serious that's where a lot of the humor comes from. It's where a lot of the color comes from. But she's taking things very seriously, right? So that was where I kind of found her voice, was in that scene, being to sell the character. Writing that helped me find, that's how I'm going to write her from now on.
Yeah. It's the way I would describe it is like relentless in all things, right?
Yeah.
Even in her compassion, like no, you will not talk about yourself this way. Like no, like, this is it's insane. Like she's such a self-help character in such a weird way. It's amazing. But yeah.
Well, that's the thing. She gets to be encouraging. She gets to be positive, but she's encouraging and positive in the way that I'm being positive right now. I have encouraged you, right?
Yes,
and
exactly.
it's fun.
You have been encouraged, dismissed. Okay.
Yes, that's right. You have been encouraged right now. You should focus on the encouragement I have given you. If you dwell on other things, you are dwelling on a lie. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you do you know the concept of ominous positivity?
Ominous positivity. No, I have not been exposed to that phrase.
It is I think it originated like with this stitching that someone made, like hand stitched. And it said like, you will be okay, you have no choice.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's the Chirax energy right there. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm writing something similar right now, but
great.
That's like
okay.
a long way off. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
called Suffering is Optional. I'm not quite sure if it'll see release, but it's fun to write.
All right. Yeah, that's great.
All right. So, well, after this very, very brief interlude that is going to remain a mystery forever.
You'll never know what we spoke about.
Yeah. It's going to be such a shock when we reveal it to the world later. Anyway, what is the best advice you've ever gotten as a writer?
The best advice I've ever gotten as a writer, there's a few that compete, but they all kind of say the same thing. But one of them was, give yourself permission to write a bad book. So yeah, you've got to write a bad book before you can write a good book. One of the magnets I have on my fridge is, I don't remember if I have, wait, which one? I don't know which one's a magnet, but they all say the same thing. There is no good writing, only good rewriting. I have a Nathaniel Hawthorne quote, which is, easy reading is damn hard writing. So there's so that kind of thing. But it really is, you've got to give yourself permission to write a bad rough draft so that you can edit it and make it a good second draft, right? So, yeah.
I feel as though, like, for my usual listeners, that has just been heresy.
Why so?
Sir, have you not considered Royal Road?
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. So I was sitting at DragonCon last year with, I think, it was Nicola Gonella, Maxime Durand, and like some other people. I think it was Actus. I'm not sure anymore. And we were sitting around, we were like eating lunch. And I was talking about like my writing process, because among all the people there, I was legit like the author with like the least reads, and I'm actually kind of fine with that. Like, I don't want to get big and famous author. No thanks.
I didn't either.
Yeah, well, sorry. Like, you have to do things like come to this podcast and like endure my puns. It's atrocious. But
burden we carry.
We were talking about like my writing process, and I was like, well, I write the draft, and then I look at it, and then Nicole just like interjects and goes, and you release it on Amazon and make millions of dollars. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. No. Oh no, wait, it was not. It was Trader Man. It wasn't Nicole.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Well, look, I know Royal Road's a different release cadence. It's the reader expectations a little different, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know how I would do writing on a Royal Road schedule. I have always been I read a lot of these, so I've always been I kind of wondered like, oh, it'd be kind of fun to make one. But like, I was reading Shadow Slave last year, and I was really enjoying it. But I was like, there's a style that works for Royal Road. I don't write in that style. I like to write it out and then edit. So I often don't know until a couple of drafts in where I'm going with the story, especially not when it's the first book in a series. When it's something like Cradle and I'm getting into books 7, 8, 9, 10, right? It's like, okay, I can usually, like, I could have probably put that chapter by chapter on a Patreon or something and it would have been okay. I still went back and edited a lot, but it probably would have been fine because I knew the characters, I know where I'm going, I know all this. I'm very familiar with it, but I've got to get familiar with it at first. And I know there are a lot of stories that I've read that come out chapter by chapter, and you can tell that the author's doing the same thing. They're getting to know the world, they're getting to know the characters, they're getting to know how this is going to work. Some of them are operational right off the bat, but most of them I would say are not. And that's that's part of the medium, that's part of the release thing, and that's fine.
Charm.
But that's tough for me as a reader sometimes to get through. So there's a lot of that where I'm trying to push through the first few chapters and I'm like, I know that if you get enough into this, but sometimes it's 10 chapters, sometimes it's 100, sometimes it's 1,000, right? And it's like, and sometimes they don't ever figure it out, right? So that's always tough for me to get through as a reader. I mean, even Worm, which is fantastic, you get through the first arc of Worm was difficult for me to push through, even though it had been recommended to me a lot, because it's basically a school bully arc in a superhero world. And I think the author, I think it clicked for him quickly in that story, and the story's really good. But it was one that was tough for me, and I think that's one of the kind of hurdles to writing on Royal Road is you've got to be familiar with what you're doing. So, having said that, all those things are still examples of you were writing something that was kind of rough and you were writing something that was trying to, and you were figuring it out, but you had to write that to get to the thing that was good and that was compelling and that was keeping readers interested. So the process still works the same way, and readers have different expectations. So it's still true even in Royal Road, and even for Royal Road writers. And I know a lot of them, they figured out, they wrote drafts on their own that they never published. And then once they kind of figured the story out, then they went to Royal Road. I know that's true for several people. So yeah, that's still principle still applies.
I personally think that I have this theory that the biggest stories on Royal Road that are still relevant today, including Defiance of the Fall, Prime Hunter, but especially He Who Fights with Monsters, work this well because the authors had a lot of time. I have never spoken to the first Defier, I don't know, but for Shirt, I understand that he basically the first 3 books had been one book that he rewrote again, has exploded out of proportion. And I think that these first 3 books are such a good launch pad for the rest of the series because it keeps up retention, I feel personally.
Sure, yeah, and clearly a lot of other people also feel that way because people enjoy the story so much. Yeah, and it's and you can tell from how readers behave. That's one of the things that people ask. People ask this question a lot on the Royal Road subreddit, but also on a lot of other writing subreddits. Is basically how can you tell when the audience is engaged, or these I'm getting this feedback from readers. How do I know what to take, right? And a lot of times what I'm doing is I'm looking at the reader's behavior. I'm looking at what are they doing, right? If they're reading it and they're sharing it and they're engaging with it regularly, then they are enjoying it. They are engaged with it. If the engagement falls off, they stop recommending it, they stop engaging with it, they stop doing the thing. I'm like, okay, so they're not being engaged right now. It's their behavior. It's not really so much what they say. Another thing that I know comes up on Royal Road a lot is what advice to take from readers. And that is also tough because you need to be getting advice from somebody. But random reader comments is probably not it. However, I know that a lot of Royal Road authors have no other source of feedback. So there are, so that can be tough. I know that can be
yeah, and then one big author that I don't know if it's public or not, famously once said hey, I'm battling this celebrity here on Audible for spot 1 on the Audible list. I don't get to have imposter syndrome anymore, right? But as someone with a story that famously he has rewritten 3 times and has gotten longer every single time and has incorporated a lot of feedback that didn't make the story a lot better actually. I too would like to understand which reader feedback to take and which not to take. But I think it has a lot to do with confidence, I think.
There is. It's a lot to do with how clear are you on your goals, right? How clear are you on what you want to do? One of the things we say a lot is purpose, target group, strategy. So why are you doing what you're doing? Who are you doing it for? And then therefore, how are you going to do it, right? What's your strategy for executing? And that to me kind of covers a lot of this because it depends on who are you doing it for. So when I was in grad school, we got some feedback on our papers, and I got feedback from two different people. And one of them said, the story's good, but it needs to be 2 pages longer. And one of them said, the story's okay, but it needs to be 2 pages shorter. And so I went to the professor and I asked him, I was like, okay, so which piece of advice do I take? And he said, that's what you got to figure out. So what I had to do was, what is the goal here? It's 2 things. One, what is the goal here? Who am I doing this for? And then the second thing was, why are they saying this, right? What is the problem they're both addressing? And the problem they were both addressing was the middle of my story, the middle couple pages, did not work. It was explanation, it was exposition, and it didn't engage them. And so one person was saying, well, it didn't engage me because it needed more detail. I needed to learn more, so you needed to go longer. And one person was saying, it didn't engage me, so cut it. And I had to decide which of those. That's really what they were saying. They didn't know that. But that is what they were saying. So when I'm telling people to give feedback, usually what I say is, give me your honest reaction. Let's just talk about it like we're talking about a book. So just give me your honest reaction to the book. And then I'll figure out why you felt that way and fix it. There's a Neil Gaiman quote that I'm going to paraphrase probably pretty badly. That is, when people tell you that there is something wrong with your book or it doesn't work for them, they're almost always right. But when they tell you exactly what's wrong and how to fix it, they're almost always wrong.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they don't know how a car, they're giving you feedback on a car they're driving, and they don't know how cars work. So they're going, I'll tell you what's wrong is your transmission. And you're like, you don't even know what a transmission is. So what problem are you experiencing that is causing you to say this about the transmission? And that's what you've got to decode as the writer.
Yeah.
And that can be tough. That can be tough to do.
And on top of that, even if they know how cars work, doesn't mean they understand how your car works, right? Like sometimes
that is sometimes the case. Generally speaking, I find that they just don't know how cars work.
Oh yeah, I mean, in the case of like giving this out to author friends and they read it and they give you feedback.
Oh,
like
sure.
They could be
Sure.
They could be saying things that like objectively wrong. Like for example, this book is actually really good. Like that's like just objectively wrong, right? So we'll see about it.
I don't know that I've had that experience. So I've had author friends read my books, and they'll a lot of times what they will do is they'll give me their subjective experience, which is what I want, right? So great, no problem. But they they don't give me objective feedback very often. So that is something that I've not gotten that a lot. So when they're giving me their feedback, they typically just give me their impressions. So I have not often had the experience of, well, you know how cars work, but you don't know how my car works. You know how books work, but you don't know how my book works. I have not had that experience very often. So I'm not sure I can speak to that.
Okay. Like, but more to the point of what you were saying earlier, I kind of want to take it and kind of like apply it to my own view. Maybe that also helps listeners to understand like what you were saying more deeply, because you gave a good example.
Great.
Well, like for example, if you got like I don't know, let's say like half of your readers said like, hey, this is like intricately crafted, like just great stuff in meter rakes, whatever, and the other half says like, what is happening? Like, what's going on? Like, confusing. Sometimes it also depends on where you get this feedback from, because we were talking about Royal Road, and like I found that, and I mean this in the most positive way, Royal Road is a hot dog stand. You go to Royal Road to buy hot dogs. You buy like, quick, really good, like well-tasting, sugary treats. Like lots of like,
Hot dogs,
condiments.
famous sugary sweets. Yep.
Like, like ketchup on it, lots of ketchup. Just put ketchup on it.
I don't know.
Maybe
I'll put ketchup on a hot dog. I'll take it. I actually just will put the ketchup. I'll just eat the ketchup off the hot dog.
Yeah, it's just like on your hand. Like
That's it. Yeah.
Great,
I need a sugary treat, so I go to a hot dog stand. I just tell them to dump as much ketchup in my mouth as they're allowed to, and then I leave.
Yeah, I think
I'm
it's
a liar. I don't like
Is this
ketchup.
yours?
I don't get ketchup on hot dogs. I don't like ketchup. I know. I'm sorry. This has gotten
more
derailed,
heresy.
but it's true. Yeah.
No, it's fine. So I think like Zogarth said this, like sometimes I want a hot dog, sometimes I want sushi, like, but I write hot dogs. Like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I found like you said, like the purpose, what's the goal? I don't really want to write hot dogs.
Okay.
I want to write stuff that makes people go like, oh, this is clever, because I'm that vain, I guess. So we'll see.
Well, look, this is clever in what sense? In the Douglas Adams sense? In the what do you mean? Oh, this is clever.
Oh, in the Lachlan sense.
Okay.
That makes
Yeah. All right.
right?
That's a good example.
So yeah, I love stuff like Control, for example,
Oh yeah.
where
Yeah.
where the story doesn't tell you anything. You just have to like piece it all together. Like,
Okay.
I love that stuff.
That's tough to
But-
do. I mean, it's not impossible to do by all means, but it's tough to do in a book.
Yeah,
In
and
a
on
video
Railroad.
game like Control, it's you can walk around and piece the things together, or in a JRPG you're making. But in a book, you've got to tell them all the details, right? Now it's of course very possible, but it's just that's a delicate line to walk, because you've got to keep them engaged. You got to give them enough information to understand the reader, and then of course you've got the Kurt Vonnegut thing of the reader should understand the book so well that should bugs eat the last few pages, they could finish the story themselves. So there's a lot of it's kind of tough, but that's a steep goal. However, I admire it. I like those things too.
Perfect for a first book, right? Anyway,
Yeah, that's a challenge. That's ambitious. That's ambitious.
I mean, like I have the shelf I made. It's right over there, and but the first thing I ever did, like in a woodworking shop, and instead of making a shelf with like two things and then like things in the middle, I made this kind of like 4-dimensional, kind of like asymmetric piece of art that is basically holding itself together with like counter pulleys and everything.
Okay,
it's
nice.
took me 2 years, but I
Wow.
got it done eventually. But yeah, like maybe this is who I am. But going back to Railroad, I also sometimes feel as though the audience like wants a certain thing, and that's perfectly fine, right? Because if you want to write and get read, you have to write something that readers want to read. It's that simple.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah,
and you can be all artsy, but
So a couple of things. One is when I got started, one of the things that helped me was I had to abandon the projects that I really that had been percolating in my mind for years, and I had to go, what do I want? What can I write that I can actually finish? So when I first started off, I had to go, I need to write not what I think is my best idea, but the idea that I think I can finish. Which for you might be this ambitious mystery, cool puzzle box thing. Yeah, it's it could be anything. But I know for me, I had to get away from my most complex ideas and go to my kind of the ones that I felt like I could execute at the time, right? And that was what got me to, like I said earlier, write a bad book that I could then work on and turn into a good book. So that was my process.
It works. Like I wrote another story that is way easier, and it just, even though I dictated it and didn't do any of my fancy prose bull stuff with it,
Yep.
it's a better story because the characters are like really out there and had a very deep sense of who the characters are, right?
Yeah, that's great.
So like again, we're circling back to your stuff, right? Really strong characters just kind of work. And I have a couple of ideas about like writing characters.
Sure.
But I kind of also want to like hear your take on how do you hook people on characters?
How do you hook people on characters? Okay. Interesting. There's a few ways. I think one of the most important ones is one I learned from Jim Butcher's live journal years ago. And it is yeah, I know, right? He left it up even after Live Journal was dead and gone, so it's still up there. He's got some good writing. Yeah, he's got some good writing advice on there. So I'd recommend Jim Butcher. But he said that it's always very important to introduce characters with a characteristic entry action. So you want to have them doing something memorable and exciting that exhibits who they are when they're introduced. And that was something that I think he got better at as the Dresden Files goes on, which makes sense because he's writing these posts as in the middle of the Dresden Files, right? So I feel that it is often you do the best you can to show off who the character is when they're introduced. So that's one way to do it. That's one thing I think is as your introduction to the character should be very memorable. I mean, you think Darth Vader, it's the giant Star Destroyer, and then he comes in and he's in the hallway and he's chasing them down, and it's like, wow, he's introduced as this big menacing figure that is in charge and everybody's scared of. He's terrifying. It's so you have a very memorable introduction to Darth Vader, right? And Yoda, same thing. He's this little quirky little goblin thing on another planet. So you get these characteristic entry actions, and then they kind of form your impression of these characters. So that's one of the techniques I use. But a big part of it is kind of character design and thinking, I'm trying to make a memorable character. One of the things is I always know the character's role, right? I always know what is the character doing in the plot? What is the character doing for the sake to advance the story? Who are they? Why are they there, right? So then I'm designing the character to be memorable and interesting around that role that they're gonna play in the plot. So when I was introducing, Yaren, my female lead character in Cradle, she is going to be introduced, and I wanted her to be kind of I wanted her to have the power set that if she was if she was the main character of a cultivation novel and she was a man, what power set would she have, right? So that's kind of the idea there, because a lot of times these don't have female protagonists, and so the male protagonists have similar, that you're choosing between a few power sets, right? And so I was like, okay, what powers would she have? So I was like, okay, that's how I started. So these are the swords and the blood thing. And so then I was like, okay, now let's give her a memorable appearance to go with that. So I thought scars, tattered robes, hair chopped short, all that stuff says swords, wild swords. She doesn't have full control of her sword powers yet. So, that says something about the character, right? And then we start getting into the blood shadow and kind of, she's got a parasite in her, and that's kind of got blood magic, and so all that kind of thing, it's sort of added up to the character. But one thing is she's foreign, so she's foreign to the main character, right? She's from a land far away from where the main character grew up. And so because of that, I was like, okay, so she needs to have kind of an accent that he doesn't recognize. And how do I show that in text? Well, you don't want to write the heavy accent text, right? That's distracting to read, and it can just be annoying. So I was like, okay, let me come up with a bunch of just folksy like idioms that she could just pepper into her speech. And I ended up calling them Yarenisms because she's the only character who uses them. So I just made up a bunch of sayings that she could just throw pepper into her speech, so she sounds different than everyone else. And when I did all that stuff, that kind of all came together into, I was like, oh, okay, so this is who this character is, and it gave me a more of an insight into what kind of person she was. And then I could sort of develop her personality and her goals and her dreams and background and all that stuff from that foundation that I had come up with.
The way I thought about it, basically I'm going to say the same thing as you said, but from a different point of view, because I find that sometimes this helps me.
Okay.
Or maybe it will help the listeners as well. It's getting to know people, right?
Yeah,
if you're going to a party, there's got to be something about someone on that party where maybe, hey, they're really beautiful, or they're laughing really loud, or they have lots of people around them, something that's interesting. And that's this, character entry action. And then if you get to know them, if you want to get to know them, then you slowly discover who they are. And sometimes I have an issue where, sometimes books do this where obviously there's enough time and they like each other enough to talk about their backstory for 3 chapters and figure out everything, but they don't. We still haven't had that talk with Mel about everything yet, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I sometimes find that as a person, as a human being, hard to believe that this will happen, but that's what the suspense of disbelief is for, right? Because there are reasons why people don't talk to each other about these things, even though they are, working together, basically. But yeah, the more you get to know people, the more you get to know their underlying problems. Whether that is, this person's very, very competent and amazing at everything, but they also really love their kids, and they have this thing with their brother, for example, right? That could be a thing. Or in the case of Yaren, where the blood shadow obviously like is very hinted at the beginning, but we don't know even what that is and what it does until like book 4.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So a big part
Really
of this,
cool
like you said, is thinking about how do we get to know real people, right?
Yeah.
Because when you get to know somebody and they trauma dump their entire backstory on your first meeting, that is usually not very engaging. That's usually like, oh, okay, why did you tell me this? We don't know each other like that. Why'd you do this? Now, sometimes maybe they have a very cool backstory. I don't know. Maybe they're like, maybe they shake your hand and they're like, well, I was a Navy SEAL and here's how I parachuted into a volcano. I don't know. But short of that, it's like, I don't want to be hearing all your backstory until I know you first, right? I want to know you. I want to like you. I want to feel like we've got a rapport. And then once we get to know each other, and then it's kind of, we're quiet moment and we're sitting around the kitchen table. It's like, okay, now I want to know more about you. Now I want to know your background. Now I want to know where you're from. Now I want to know the details. And I feel like a lot of times I feel like one of the things that writers tend to think is that the more facts you know about a character, the better you know them. And that is not true. So that's because that's not how we get to know people. So memorizing a list of facts about somebody does not make you know them any better. And I mean, I say not any better. That's still, knowing stuff about people is still good, but that is not the primary way we get to know people. When you know somebody really well, that doesn't mean you've memorized a bunch of facts about their life. You could have read all this on a piece of paper or their Wikipedia page, and you don't know them. It is engaging with them on a human level. It's getting to feel them. It's having experiences with them. It's spending time with them. Those are things that get you to know people. And you do learn facts as you're doing that, but that's not the primary thing that gets you to know people. So I feel this in movies and TV shows a lot. And honestly, in Stephen King novels as well. A lot of times he introduces his characters, and one of the ways he's introducing them is he's going, he was a football player for his high school team, and he still remembered the green and orange sweatshirt that they wore back when they were. And I was like, why do we need to know this? I'm thinking. So I really loved The Stand. This is a complete non sequitur. I really loved The Stand when I was a kid, and then he re-released it after that with like 400 pages longer, and I like that version so much less. Because I was like, no, I liked the 600-page version. Why is there a 1,000-page version? Stop this. This is too long.
So anyway. Oh God, this is hitting me in the feels because this is exactly what happened with my stuff.
Oh really?
I mean, no. I'm basically Stephen King now. Like, this is what I'm saying, right?
That's true. That's what I was. This was really an indirect way of coming at you. No.
Totally. Because
No, it's really. I just feel that the way you get to know people is the way you get to know characters, the same way you get to know people, right? You spend time with them. And you get to see them interact with the world as they are. I also really don't like my time being wasted when I'm reading a story. I don't like feeling like my time is being wasted. That is not the same as taking your time. Yeah. So slow pace and wasted time are two different things. So sometimes you are taking you're pacing it slow. You're doling information out one bit at a time. There are a lot of things I like that are slow paced, but generally speaking, what people call slow paced often has a large wasted time element to it. Mm-hmm. So when you're doing the same scene over and over and over again, or we're doing a lot of scenes where we don't actually learn anything new about the characters of the world and the plot doesn't advance, then we're wasting time. So that's one of the things that's tough is I don't have a high tolerance for wasted time. Slow pace is okay. Wasted time, not okay. So Wheel of Time is one of my favorite series. And one of the reasons, I know. And one of the reasons why I like it a lot is it is going somewhere, right? It's adding up. However, there's a lot of wasted time in Wheel of Time. And I know, so it's okay with me. It's okay for me because I'm like, I know it's going somewhere, right? It's always building to something. And there's always characters that I really do care about. And I care about them because I've been on this journey with them. So yeah, those are I don't remember what the original question was, but.
The character stuff. But no, totally. I mean, you're totally right. And kind of like tying it all together. I feel as though sometimes wasted time is best characterized as this isn't going anywhere. I don't need this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Because like I could, in theory, write about like you learn something more about the characters, like more facts.
Yeah,
that you kind of like write down. Yep. But like that doesn't really do anything. Like I forget where it was. I think it was a Matt Bird's book where wrote a book called Secrets of Story. Great book. And he said, like, if you introduce characters, you quickly want to have people go, "Oh, that's so Yaren," or like,
Yes,
"Hey,
absolutely,
that's so
yes.
Lyndon," right?
Yeah.
Because that's how you know people, like your best friends. You know how they're going to react. You don't know everything about them, but you know how they react. And I think maybe like on some sort of like weird evolutionary, like social level, it's very comforting to understand and have predictable behavior in people. I don't know. Maybe that's
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
that's not. Maybe it's not bold stuff.
Yeah, no, I know that's also a lot of the humor I have in my books is character humor. So it's funny because this character is he's so that guy, right? That's the kind of humor I like. That's one of the kinds of humor I like to have in the books because that is not only just a good novels are a good vehicle for that kind of humor. There's a lot of kinds of humor that novels aren't really the best for. You need the visual element. But in books, it's easy to get across the character humor. But another reason is because I'm already setting up these characters. I want them to be memorable. I want them to be people you know well. I want them to be people you know so well that you're like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious because that's so that guy. That's something that I want you to know him that well. And so I can take it. I can both set that up with the character humor, and I can take advantage of it with the character humor. So yeah,
And you can also completely emotionally wreck your readers and make them suffer.
yes.
I will never forget you for Ryan. Just saying, like this is one scene with Ryan. Like,
Good. Yes, good. Yeah, the problem is I wanted to save that till later in the series, but I ended up having to use it early. I was gonna blow it later because I was gonna like lead up to it, but instead I got to use it in book 3. So yeah.
there's people don't do this in LitRPG often, right? Also, like the villain redemption arc.
Yeah.
The best example of that, I think, that is in most people's head is like an Iron Prince. There's a character that has like a really good like redemption arc, and that is exactly what we talked about earlier. Like you get to know them, and they're complete shirt hole, right? Not to be confused with shirt loon, but that's a different person. But like they're completely bullshit. Probably better way to say this. And then after a while, you understand like why they're this way, and they're trying and they're not succeeding, and they're getting better at it. And then you give them an olive branch, and suddenly everything is better. Like that's really hard to write. I feel in a serial, but it's so rewarding, very rewarding.
It is difficult, honestly. In a serial, it's hard to write because you got to be planning ahead. You got to be setting it up. You got to be doing the breadcrumbs. So when you're doing a serial, that's tough because you have to know weeks or months in advance that you're going to do this. And I say have to. You could pull it off retroactively. I know a lot of people do. I mean, Vegeta, right? So there's a lot. Clearly, that was not planned from the beginning. So there's a lot of ways that you can take advantage of this retroactively. But still, it's difficult to do. It's difficult to do because you have to be rooting against them initially as an antagonist. And then you've got to go, now you're rooting against them, so we can't have made them too bad. So let's try to make them now sympathetic, because there's a lot of times where you're introducing them as the Satan, right? And then this is like, oh, okay, so this person is killing puppies for fun, and then as they're dying, they do the Demon Slayer thing of like, yes, I was killing puppies for fun, but actually you don't realize that puppies killed my mom. And okay, sure.
Okay,
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, there's a lot to. It's difficult. It's difficult to do. And one of the ways to do it, and I brought up Vegeta a minute ago. One of the ways to do it is you give them an arc where they have somebody worse to struggle against. So he's the whole Frieza saga. He's the underdog, and he is working against Frieza. And so he's kind of a you have the anti-hero. He's kind of the rogue. And then at the end, you kind of find out that he lost his whole planet and lost his whole people and lost a sense of identity and fails. And then Goku's got to pick up after him. So so it's a good way. That's an arc you had to bring. You had to bring the character on an arc. And it's tough to do. There's a lot of writing involved in that and a lot of planning.
Isn't there like also like this one character that like gets introduced as literally Satan in Dragon Ball?
Yeah, there are a few actually. Weirdly enough.
I mean, I know there is a Mr. Satan. I know that, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
The Demon King in the Boo saga. He's
yeah, and also the Namekian, the green guy.
Yeah, the original King Piccolo. Yeah, he was a Demon King. Yep. Yeah, there's a few. Yeah. There's quite a few. Yeah. And then Dragon Ball Daima came out recently, and there are multiple Demon Kings, including the big Demon King. So he got the third eye, and so there's Goma. Yeah. So there's a lot of answers to that question. Yeah.
I'm not actively following anime anymore. I gotta say, like, I really want to get into it, but sometimes, and this is kind of like a good segue to my next question. We're running out of time already. Holy cow! But I have to make a decision, like, real quick. What makes something ham-fisted?
What makes something ham-fisted? I'll tell you what. I think a lot of writers chase subtlety, and what they should really be chasing is clarity. Mm-hmm. So people mistake subtlety they mistake lack of clarity for subtlety. A lot of times they're going, well, I wanted the readers to pick up on this, but I guess I was just too subtle. No, you were not clear. So that's one of the big things that I have found that writers tend to go, well, I was just being subtle. No, you weren't. You were being unclear. And a lot of times that means you were being not deliberate enough. You weren't deliberately including these elements. You were kind of including them by feel and sort of kind of, was kind of in there. Yeah. And really it's like, no, you got to deliberately include these things. So what makes something ham-fisted? When you are going beyond clarity and you are really trying to push it on your audience. So there's being you can be abundantly clear without being ham-fisted. That's not, but you're trying to go, well, I'm not just trying to be clear. I am trying to make sure that they see things the way I see them. And instead you can be clear. You can go, you can present your situation. You can present your viewpoint. I mean, a lot of times, honestly, people talk about how they can tell what a writer's viewpoint is from reading their books. And a lot of times you can, of course, tell a lot of things about a writer. However, usually when a writer includes something in their books, it's because it reflects more of what they think you will think, right? Yeah. That's what it reflects more than what they think. It reflects what they think you will think. So I know there's a lot of people who talk about how, I don't know how to phrase this, how George R. R. Martin portrays the way society treats women in A Song of Ice and Fire. And so some people say that that's because George R. R. Martin wants women to be treated that way. That does not hold up. In the story, it's always portrayed as a very negative element. These things are so. What's happening is George R. R. Martin thinks you are going to think this is barbaric and terrible, which of course you do. And so he's correct. This is not how he wants things. This is bad. This is a bad situation he's setting up. But people tend to believe that you can go, I see what the writer believed there. However, where your beliefs do come through is when you're taking characters on arcs, the arcs are usually positive or negative. So the character either changes for the better or they change for the worse. And so what you say is the character changing for the better is what you think is good. And what you say is the character changing for the worse is what you think is bad, right? So that is usually how you can kind of see where a writer's views are coming through is if they did this thing where they cast off all their friends and they're going alone and they're like, I'm now on a quest for vengeance. And the story portrays that as a bad thing. Okay, well, now you know something about what the author thinks. Where the story portrays that as you're right. His friends were really slowing him down. It's like, okay, wow, all right, interesting. So that's yeah.
On the other hand, the Joker.
What about the Joker?
I mean, or Walter White. Okay. All these anti-heroes where people are like, oh,
I don't know if the Joker's
he's
an anti-hero so much as an irredeemable villain.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, there's so much like me. That's how stuff.
Yeah.
Also, I have to say one thing. I adore the visual pun you're going for.
Oh yeah,
with a gnome behind you.
Ah, thank you. Yeah.
Because it's literally a hidden gnome.
It's hidden behind me. That's right.
It's so good.
It's true.
Really good. Really good stuff.
That's so funny. I didn't think about that as a visual pun, but that is what we were doing. We hid a gnome behind my head so that when I move, you can kind of see the hidden gnome. Yeah.
Man. So many questions. It's almost as though you are the will of the many questions. Anyway,
that was not my nickname in high school.
What?
That was not my nickname in high school.
No. I mean, your high school would have to have been in Islington, but that's a different pun. Okay. I think I have the strength.
I get it.
For a
I
few
understood
more.
that. I've read that book.
Yeah. I think I have the strength for a few more questions.
Okay, right.
As you may have heard, I'm making a game about the stories we love. A couple of friends and I have been working hard on this project for over a year now. We're getting to a point where it's devoured most of our nights and weekends, and it has still more room to grow. So if you want a game that makes you feel like you're part of the Path of Ascension, Stray Cat Strut, Deathloop and Vampire Circle, Calamitous Bob, and many others, please keep an eye on our Kickstarter and Steam pages. Just to follow a wishlist is more than enough, and if you're already on board, thank you. We couldn't do it without you. What is one thing that you learned by writing that you would do differently in your next novel?
I'm always learning new things. Every time I write a new book, I'm trying to iterate. I'm trying to get better. One of the things we talk about is, are you trying to write a better book, or are you trying to write a book better, right? So there's different parts of this process. And so what I'm trying to do as I write is I'm trying to get better as a writer as I continue releasing books. It's not necessarily that each book needs to be the best book I've ever written. It's more that I want to be a better writer each book than I was the previous book. And that doesn't always result in a immediately superior product. But the idea is that I slowly get better over time, right? And therefore the books will as well. So that's always been my philosophy. So I'm slowly improving. I'm slowly getting better. But one of the things that I have been wrestling with this last time was I got way up in my head about the initial concept for this book. I was too convincing myself that I didn't know what I was doing. So I was going, I don't know. I don't know what the concept needs to be. I don't know if people are going to like this. I don't know. Which is very funny because this was my 27th book. So I have done this many, many times. But this time, for some reason, I was trying to write LitRPG. I was trying to write something that was more LitRPG than I've written before. And I was very hesitant about it. So I had to rewrite this book too many times. So I ended up on like the fourth or fifth draft, which usually I don't have to rewrite that significantly. It's usually because I'm on track from the beginning. But I overthought it too much. And one of the reasons I overthought it was because I was convincing myself that there were things that I didn't understand about the target audience that I was not sure about. There were things that were mysteries. I was convincing myself that there were lots of unknown unknowns out there that I'm like, I don't know LitRPG. I'm not good at that. I was like consulting Travis Baldry, and I was talking to Dakota Crowd. I was talking to all these friends of mine who are LitRPG authors, and I was like, okay, but what am I was like trying to crack this. Like Andrew Rowe was one of the ones I was talking to, and I was like trying to track the psychology, and it was like I was way overthinking it, man, just way overthinking it, because I wrote Cradle, and a lot of people call Cradle LitRPG, right? Yeah. And it's like it's not exactly, but it's not far away. It's not if you put levels and numbers in there, it'd be fine. And you call that LitRPG, nobody would argue with you. So it's like but I was convincing myself there was something that I didn't understand about the target audience, and that I was going to write something that they weren't going to like. So for my next book, I realized I wasted a lot of time that I could have been using to work on. I wasted a lot of time I could have been using to make the book better, trying to course correct the initial direction I was going. And the reason I was going the wrong direction was because I had convinced myself that I was going the wrong direction. And so because I had convinced myself of that, I was fumbling around in the dark, and I didn't need to be. I know the target audience. I know what to write. I've read these books. I know what to do. I like video games. I like these books. And these are things that I needed to just relax on it, to be honest. And that is something that, now that's 26 books in, right? Like, so I'm already experienced at this, but that's what I'm going to carry with me into my next book. Is the thing that I'm most working on now is how can I really go, hey, I know the writer, I know the reader, I know the books. Let's relax, get a draft out to work on, and then let's make it as good as possible, as early as possible, and not have to backtrack.
Yeah, one thing that came to mind as you were saying this was what would Shyrex do, right? Like,
there you go. Yeah, I should have been asking myself that question. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. What would Shyrex tell me to do? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I could do voices as well as Travis, and I would attempt it, but I'm not going to.
I feel that way a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh God. There's going to be so many jokes about Travis in the game, and he's
Good,
going to
good.
have to narrate them all the time. It's going to be amazing.
That's great.
Because at LitRPG Con last time, I think I kind of started this whole thing where it was like Travis Baldry but Chuck Norris, right? Because like he's done a lot of stuff, but
So funny thing is, so he came from
yeah,
game development, which I'm sure you know.
yeah,
But when I first got him for Cradle, so we got him off the Kindle or Audible has this
yeah.
program for ACX where you're putting a sample up and then narrators come and read it. And he was one of the first respondents, and so we got his response and we really liked his read. But then we got a million more responses in the first day, and we were like, okay, well, there's no way the read we liked the most at the beginning is going to be the same at the end. And we listened to all these guys, and they were all great. I mean, these narrators are really, really good. And then we did kind of like a little tournament, and we did our best. And still, Travis Baldry won. He won even after all these great other contestants entered. And his voice was so great. And then I talked to him on the phone, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I was in game development." I was like, "Game development? What games did you develop?" And he said, "Torchlight and Torchlight 2." I was like, "Bro, I played those games." And he's like, "Oh yeah." And I was like, "No, for real, I played those games. I don't know if you believe me or not, but I really have played. I played a lot of Torchlight 2." So yeah.
I like Rebel Galaxy.
Ah, there you go.
Say,
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. That's more
like,
recent.
Oh, like
yeah.
that joke, like that blooper was genius. Like,
Thank you.
really good.
Thank you. Yeah.
I enjoyed that so much. I
I'm
always
trying to come
like
up with something that Travis had to read. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what he's
Yeah.
referring to, audience, in case you didn't know, is I write bloopers at the end of my books. So I write things that like you would see at the end of a movie, like the characters made mistakes or there's a little joke that you throw in there or something. But of course I'm making it up because it's a book. And one of the ones I did was a joke about Rebel Galaxy Outlaw that was Travis's game that he developed. And it was, at the time, it was out on the Steam. I'm sure it's still out on Steam. But at the time, it was out. And so I have a character talking up the game. And so I did that solely to make Travis narrate it because I knew he was going to be narrating the book. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be so much fun. Because like when you said like, hey, you had a tournament, was there tea involved?
Yes. Always.
Oh. Because I for while I was preparing for the interview, I did lots of preparation in the 5 minutes before the interview.
Wow. That's more
I
than
thought like more than you. I'm kidding. But like I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny if Chirax was actually based off of Travis Baldry?
That's what I should have done. Yeah, you're right. Somebody who I know in real life who's just great at everything. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. That's true. I should have based it more on Travis.
Tournament on like whether to get the spot. Great at making tea.
Absolutely.
Has a really cool voice.
Yeah.
Like totally. And just succeeds at a lot of stuff. Like
that's it.
And if Travis is listening to this, you know, Travis, I love you to pieces, and I know like I hate this myth of like the genius. Where like everything you touch just kind of works, because that's not how it works. You do something a lot. Like Travis Baldry has a single-minded fury on anything he does, and he does it well. And I'm really like, this guy's just great. Really
what
cool
I'm
dude.
impressed by with Travis being good at a lot of different things is not like you said, it's not a question of talent. It is a question of what he's good at is he is good at learning new things. He's good at noticing patterns. He's good at learning new things. He's good at learning how to learn. He's good at he is very, when you're skilled in multiple disciplines, what he's skilled at really is picking up. He's done a lot of things in his life that make him good at learning new things, good at acquiring new skills, good at practicing things. But he's also very observant, and so he reads all these LitRPGs and he goes, well, I mean, I think I know what I would like to write, and then he, of course, writes a book that's excellent. Well, he practiced a lot, and he read a lot, and he observed a lot. And that's one of the things that's another thing that I talk to a lot of writers about is when you're reading a lot is very important. So reading a lot is very important for improving as a writer. But a lot of writers read a lot and they don't necessarily learn from the books they're reading. They just sort of absorb by osmosis. And I find that what the people who are really good do, like Travis, is they will read these books and they will look at them through the lens of what is the author doing here? What did they do that worked really well, and how did they do that? And what did they do that didn't work so well, and how did they do that so I can avoid that? Right? He's picking it apart. He's going, why is this This is an intentional thing that was created by somebody for a purpose. How did they achieve the effect that they achieved? And Travis has made himself through experience and determination and a lot of time very good at breaking those things down. So when he's reading these books, he's not just reading them, he's learning. And he learned the lessons, and he went around and turned around and proved that, right? So that's very impressive.
While you were out partying, I was studying the book.
He studied the book. Totally. He studied the book. And the blade. He's good with the blade.
And probably also probably wrestling and quantum mechanics.
Mm-hmm. All of it.
Probably. All of them at the same time.
Yeah.
While curing cancer. What's one book that you love, and why is it so awesome?
What's one book that I love? Ooh, that's fun. Oh, okay. Well, it's the funny thing is, because I've been talking about these books, it's hard not to recommend the ones that I've been talking about, just because. So I talked about Jim Butcher earlier. Go ahead.
The only thing you can do is have you read Cradle? That's the only answer.
Have you read Cradle? No. So it's hard not to immediately think of, for instance, the Dresden Files, right? Because I mentioned Jim Butcher earlier, so I love the Dresden Files. And one of the things that makes it so great is each book is a standalone story. It's a noir detective mystery, but for magic. And one of the pieces of advice he gives in his blog is, you don't have a special effects budget, so blow it all you want, right? So I love that, because he was one of the ones who proved to me that you could kind of do the action thing, right? Another one is Matthew Stover was a writer. I don't know if he's still releasing stuff. To be honest, I haven't read anything from him in a long time, but he wrote several Star Wars novels, and that was how I got introduced to him. So he wrote Shatterpoint, and he wrote Traitor, and he wrote the Episode 3 novelization. So he was one that I really enjoyed, and I learned how to write fight scenes from him, because I went, okay, his fight scenes are just very, very focused, and they're very, I don't want to say, he doesn't go blow by blow exactly, which is honestly more of what I do. But he focuses on the character conflict, and the way he describes them is very dynamic. It's very engaging. It feels very fast-paced. And a lot of times when you're writing a fight scene, because you're going blow by blow and you're going, he punched and this guy dodged and this whatever, it can feel slow and it can feel like it drags, but his never do. They're always very energetic. So he's one of the ones that I really enjoyed. And the Episode 3 novelization makes the story a lot better compared to the movie. So that's so I really enjoyed that book. That's really good. Yeah,
the book was better.
Yeah. And I mentioned Shadow Slave earlier. I really enjoyed that. I'm not caught up on that. I'm several hundred chapters behind, but it's that was one of the web novels I read last year that I really
coming from Aethon Vault, I think next year too. Just a shout out for it.
That's good to know.
Yeah, they're releasing a hardcover copy of it, I think, and they're also doing a webtoon.
I heard about the webtoon. I didn't know they were doing the hardcover. That's cool.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great to also have an animation, right, Will?
It would be cool. I don't have an animation still. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, I'd love to get the T-bait get on Crunchyroll. Yeah, it'd be cool.
Oh, you want solo leveling, not T-bait.
Yes, of course. The goal would be solo leveling, right? Yeah. But I'm impressed with Turtle Me getting on Crunchyroll at all. I was like, wow, this is on. When that anime came out, I was still working on the animatic, which, by the way, I'm wearing the shirt right now. Oh yeah, Cradle Animatic.
Oh yeah.
Currently out on YouTube. Yes, out on YouTube for anybody to view. Yeah. And so
really, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. Like
just a few days ago.
If you're watching this on YouTube, just stop. Just go watch that.
So it's a full length feature film, And it is an animatic, which means it's not fully animated. So it's all the drawings that you would have in animation. So it's kind of the motions aren't fluid. It's not full color. It's black and white, that kind of thing. Because we raised enough money on Kickstarter to make the movie, but not to animate it. So that's what we did. So it is now a full-length animated movie that covers Cradle Unsold, so book 1, and Soulsmith book 2. So I wanted to, initially we were just going to do book 1, but I really wanted to get Ethan in there. So, because he's the best character. So,
yes, this is like quite objectively true. You know how Nicole has like Unbound, but when you buy the book, it actually has a spine.
It was a lie,
right? Yeah, like obviously, like Cradle has been a bestseller, so you should read in the first book. Sold quite a lot.
I see what you did there. Yeah, I had to. For Kickstarter editions, I have to write like extra bloopers at the end. So one of the ones I did recently was I made that pun a bunch. So I was like, oh no, he's unsold, he's unshelled, he's I don't remember what all of them were. But it's fun. It's fun. He's warm, so he's uncold. It was fun to do though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you sold me on your Patreon, on your Kickstarter, I guess. Yeah, I know.
Those bloopers are eventually going to be coming out for everybody, so you don't need to. No extra money required.
What's the name of your next book?
I'm not sure yet. So that's so the next book coming out. I'm not sure which one's coming out yet. So that's what's tough to. So it's tough to.
You have like a Ouija board that you use.
I don't know. I don't know which one's coming out. It's the. I'll have to divine. I'll have to read the tea leaves that are left over in my tea to decide which one's coming out. So the working title, which could end up being the title of my LitRPG that I'm working on, which may be the next book that comes out. I'm not sure, but the working title is Overworld. So like the overworld in a video game, right? Because the setting concept is that it's sort of like a roguelike where the world periodically resets, right?
Roguelike or roguelite?
Roguelite. So funny you asked that question because I was a really big fan of NetHack in high school and college, which would be the first roguelike. So it is. So Rogue would be the ASCII game that was the original dungeon crawler, and then NetHack was the second. So I was a very big fan of NetHack. I have hundreds, if not thousands, of hours in NetHack, and so I was around when roguelike meant like Rogue, and so it's like I was now it's like I was playing it quite a few years after it was originally out. Yeah,
I mean Super Mario Brothers is a roguelike. You die, you lose all progress.
I see what you mean. I would say probably not. I'd say probably
the RPG elements are a bit lacking. I will
admit
of a
stretch.
That.
Yeah. Anyway,
but
roguelite would be more of the term.
Cool. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the meta upgrades because my God, are those hard to do. But yeah. But okay. Last but not least, because we got some time left, and I figure at this point, why not just keep the episode going and upload it a little bit earlier on Patreon? But since the Patreon is like so irregularly updated at this point, why not just release the full thing on YouTube for everyone to enjoy? Why not?
Cool. Yeah.
So, before we go into like the quote unquote bonus material, why don't you give us some shout outs to like maybe authors that people haven't heard of before?
Shout outs to authors people haven't heard of before. I'm not. Let me think, because the first people I think of that I both know and recommend are generally pretty popular authors. But
from your clubhouse.
That's how I'm kidding. So Andrew Rowe is the first person I thought of. Andrew Rowe of Arcade Ascension, because I mentioned him just a few minutes ago. But he's not unknown. Like it's he's a popular author. So and Dakota Kraut again. It's another friend of mine who's writes tons of books, and but again not unknown at all. So
I wonder why he's on a Kickstarter. Doing some crowdfunding.
Oh my God. Yeah, boo this man. Boo. Man. So that's tough. I don't know. I mean, again, I was playing video games with Daniel Green a couple of weeks ago. Evan Lakem too, and neither of them are unknown.
Yeah. Yeah, like at this point, I feel as though like I'm kind of like not Patrick Stewart, Jon Stewart interviewing Oprah and asking like, hey, so like, what's one thing that you do that makes you relatable? And she goes like, well, I love avocado toast. And he's like, oh, finally something, right? And she goes, yeah, like I just like get them from my own farm. I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, yeah. I had the avocados airdropped in. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. It's like
Yeah,
15, like a swarm of maids just goes and like plucks them ripe. No, but
yeah.
to be honest, it's really weird how this works. Because when I started out writing, I started a Discord server, and it was literally just like, hey, let's kick each other in the ass to, write more. And I think I'm among one of the only people on this Discord that has not like financially like put a book out there and published it financially on Amazon. I think it's my buddy like Zeusified and myself. By the way, Sam, if you're listening to this, like Will said it, go write a bad book. Just finish a bad book, please. You can do it. Other Sam.
That is never going to happen, my friend.
Well, there you heard it.
That's another Sam. There's many Sams involved in this.
So many. No, that was Will.i.am. That's a different person.
No, we're the same.
So the point I was trying to make is, like, authors just kind of like hang out all the time, and usually at some point they all find some sort of success. So it's almost kind of like different like classes. People who stick with a creative thing, and then just kind of like hang out with other people, kind of form these clusters that are like seemingly very incestuous, but in the end, like you just know people. It's how it works. Like I'm not successful, I'm not big or anything, and I know like cool people that I hang out with. So totally get it, Will. Totally
Yeah,
get it.
it's just it's tough because I'm like I wish I had like a list of. The other thing is I find that a lot of times people are like, okay, so what's like some underrated things, and I'm going honestly, the stuff that I read, if it's really really good and it's currently underrated, I would have shouted it out already, right? So. Usually, it's the stuff that's really underrated doesn't stay underrated for long. It doesn't stay in the culture we currently have, the way things currently work. And I'm talking specifically about Kindle, right? I don't know Royal Road well. I don't know. YouTube is its own thing, right? There's a lot of platforms that I don't know well. But in Kindle, at least, the things that are really, if they're really good and people are really enjoying them, they tend to eventually rise to the top. As long as you keep doing it, you keep putting books out, keep doing stuff, they do tend to eventually get noticed if they're really that good and people really do enjoy them that well. Usually that has been my experience. Things that are underrated eventually get rated appropriately. So the only one I can think of that I really ran into where I was like, I think this is seriously underrated was Alec Hudson's Crimson Queen. And this was almost 10 years ago now, maybe 10 years ago. And it was... it had been a fan recommended it to me, and it had only been out a few weeks, and it had like 30 reviews or something. Like it had like no reviews, and so I was immediately like, "Go read this," and then of course people read it, and it was great. So then it started getting popular, right? And I find that that's usually how these things work. If they're really underrated, they're really good. They eventually get rated enough. So most of the people I can think of that were writing things that I was like they were initially maybe underrated, eventually ended up they're not underrated anymore. Now they're rated.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, after the podcast is over, because I don't want to like shill like people on your podcast that you haven't read, but I'm going to give you some recommendations that I think you might enjoy.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. But I kind of just want to go back to with the bonus content. We have about like maybe 6 minutes left.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, it was an accident. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. It was an accident. You kind of mentioned you're pantsing the first draft and then you're plotting it backwards.
Not exactly. I plot the first draft also. I just am going the first draft. I need to go. I need to give myself a little more permission to just write out. Just write. right?
Yeah.
So that's it. It's turn the editor off. That's all I meant by that. I do plan it. So when people talk about planners, pantsers, gardeners, architects, I find that dichotomy is often more. It hurts. It traps people more than it helps them. Now it's still a good difference. But everybody's kind of you're kind of spectrum between one extreme and the other, and it changes depending on where you are in the process. But I always feel like some planning is necessary. Some people are like, oh no, I'm entirely a pantser. Yeah, I could tell. And so you need a little bit of a plan to keep your pantsing in check. Even if you're fully a pantser, you got to plan a little bit. And even if you're fully a planner, you're always making something up in the moment. If you can't be married to your plan, the people who are fully planners, you can't be totally married to that and then give yourself no reason to flex. So there's always kind of a little. But usually what I do is I come up with a plan at the beginning, and then I sort of pants the first draft, and then I replan. And I keep replanning and repantsing and all that. So I'm going back and forth.
I feel it's fair to say that there is some sort of editing phase in every writing somewhere.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
How long that is and when that is completely up to everything.
For sure.
You know, Travis, when he was on the pod, he said, I wish I could have been a pantser, but I hate doing things twice, or something like that.
Yeah.
And he said it in a very, very like threatening tone, and I was very intimidated. But that just stuck with me so hard because I always was a pantser. Like the first draft of my I've had like thousands of like cadavers of like unfinished books. I always wanted like to pants them, right? Yeah. And like even the one that's out now, the first draft was all pantsed, but the issue was that I threw out all these like herrings, and so many of them turned out red, and it was so hard to like keep them all in my head. And like the story, as we talked about before, it wasn't going anywhere. So at some point, it came up with the idea of like, how do I make this more efficient? And I spent a lot of time writing prose that I was going to kick out again. So what I did in turn was just cut out all the prose and write like very, very like small sentences. Like I get up in the morning, I go downstairs, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And then
Then
I basically found out like, and then I make them pretty in the revision. But then I found out like basically plotting is just pantsing without the prose.
Yeah. So all plotting, and this is why I find that often the difference between the two is not as helpful, is sometimes not helpful to people, because when you are plotting something out, all you're really doing is you're kind of making it up in a broad scale. You're just zooming out, right? You're going, I'm going to make this up in a broad sense, and I'm going to just get a big look at it, a wide look, and go, okay, I'm going to plot out the forest, and then I'm going to pants the forest, and then I'm going to go in and pants it one tree at a time, right? I'm going to go fill it in. So that's it. So that's you're always making it up, right? You're always it's kind of like the show don't tell thing, the advice people give, which again is not wrong advice. It's just people over apply it, and they apply it in ways that it's like because to some degree you're always telling if you're writing a novel, because you can't, because there's no visual element, so you have to be telling to some degree. And there's also many areas where the best way to demonstrate this is to tell the audience something. That is the most efficient, effective, direct way of demonstrating something. So
when is that?
Yeah. You want to? If I had a simple rule for it, I'd give it to you. But that's one of the reasons why people over repeat this phrase, which is again not wrong. It's not bad advice, and a lot of times it is the best advice to give. But people over rely on it, and they use it in ways that it's not necessarily intended for. And again, one of the things they take away is never tell your audience anything. Wrong. No, by all means, please tell your audience stuff. And if you think about books you love and you think about movies you like and any stories, you go sometimes. I mean, Lord of the Rings, the opening of Fellowship of the Ring, that's the 10-minute short film that tells you the backstory. What it's doing is telling you the backstory. That's what it's doing. This is telling. This is exposition. This is We are just finding out facts about the world, but they are doing it in an engaging, creative way, and you do need this information to understand the context. So what they were saying was, how do we show this, not tell it? What they were saying was, how do we tell this in an engaging and entertaining way? And that's one of the things that I think is kind of missing in that advice sometimes.
I can't help but think about Locked Tomb. Have you read those? Times the
I
movie.
don't think so.
Gideon the Ninth.
Oh, yeah. See,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because this lady tells you nothing.
Yeah.
But I thought, at least, right? And then I recently read the beginning of Gideon again because I was sending it to a friend, and she's telling you just enough, just enough.
Yes, right.
To
Exactly.
Get you.
Yeah, that's a great example. And then another one I thought of was Dune. So Dune obviously tells you a lot, but it's still what he's doing when he's writing the book, and then same thing with Gideon the Ninth. They're telling you facts about the world that are showing you something. So they're telling you these things about the Mentat or about all these setting elements, and what they're really doing is showing you what this world is like, who these characters are through what they're telling you, and so that's, I think people get a little weird about it. They get a little bit, I can't tell the audience anything. It's good. And so I link that to planners and pantsers, because a lot of times people are like, well, I'm a pantser, so I can't plan anything. Not correct. You can, or this is more rare, but it does happen. I'm a planner, so I can't. I don't like pantsing anything. You're going to be pantsing some of this. You're afraid of this. You want everything to be planned out. You want to know the book is going to work before you write it. That is not going to happen. That's a bad goal. Stop that.
I mean, I know people, again, looking, I'm just kidding, but I know people who will try to prove you wrong and have been for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna call you again when they do.
Okay, great, good, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, sick me on them. I'll get them.
Yeah. We're talking about Demon Slayer with a dying breath. And now I finished it.
I finished it at last. Yes, good. Yeah.
Nothing is done.
Yeah,
coming on. But yeah, I think your brother mentioned something about you having to go at about right now.
Yeah, I've got another podcast in a few minutes, so this is we got to wrap up to pretty soon. Yeah.
My
podcast day.
Yeah, I mean, hey, thanks for being here.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was talking to someone who you might know, actually, like Nick Fuller.
Yeah, I know Nick Fuller. Yeah.
And he also said it was really stoked that this was happening, and that we had
cool.
you for
episode
100.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has his own podcast, Nerdy Nebula podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you know him, Will?
You know, we met once long ago, and I'm trying to remember I don't remember what the circumstances were for, but mostly I just messaged him online. I don't remember what the circumstances were around that. How did I meet him?
You were both writing TAs.
That was it. At UCF. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Wow.
Really, really funny. But yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I knew we met in person a long time ago. I was trying to remember where it was. Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
All right. Well, with that being said, usually this is the point where I promote my Patreon.
Okay.
But it's not running anymore, guys. It's over. You can leave.
Easy.
But I mean, I'm gonna see if I can get a couple more authors here and there and kind of keep it going. There's this Matt Dinneman guy who promised he would be on this podcast about 1.5 years ago. So I'm gonna message his not secretary, assistant again.
So you're saying I beat Matt? I got in before Matt, so that's good.
Oh,
on the ground floor,
dude. Yeah, totally. Yeah, no,
good.
I think at LitRPG Con last year, I was talking to Matt, and I said hey, do you not? I'm sending you all these people, like Jeff Hayes and so on and so forth, asking you, hey, when you come on, do these people not tell you this? He's like, oh, they do. I just don't come to your podcast to see who we're going to send next. So
there you go. Nice. That was a very Matt response.
So I'm thinking about maybe getting a lead on his wife. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, he's kind of trying to approach around different vectors.
Or his band members. We'll see.
There you go.
We'll see.
There you go.
Oh, maybe I can like pay the audience for his next gig.
There it is.
Hold up a sign.
Get somebody to request it on Patreon.
That'd be amazing. But Will, it's been a complete blast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And if you guys enjoyed this, there's more stuff, more awesome authors to find, many of them as prolific, but some of them less well known than Will. All this podcast, 100 episodes, all of them go at least 1 hour. And if you're on Patreon, they go for 2. Unlike this one, only an hour and a half. But if you want to check it out, there's also a Kickstarter going, or prelude Kickstarter going. You can sign up for it for a game I'm making about LitRPG. It's called Royal Rogue, and I'm going to link it down below.
I love that name.
Right? It's like it was like
That's great. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for the encouragement. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.